Islamic financing can help bridge the financing gap being experienced within the African continent, which stands in the region of $100 billion annually. CNBC Africa's Abiagina spoke to Dr. Abdilela Belatik, the Secretary General of the Council for Islamic Banks and Financial Institutions, on the opportunities to deploy their over $60 billion funding war chest into Africa. Now let us listen in.
First of all, while the CIBAFI, which is General Council for Islamic Banks and Financial Institutions, has, of course, members from over close to 40 countries globally, and including many countries in Africa. So today, Islamic banking and finance operates in close to probably over 100 countries globally. And a large number of African countries have started it or are on the way of developing it further. Historically, it has been started over, 40 years ago in countries like Sudan, and later on Egypt, North Africa, after Sub-Saharan Africa, South Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, Senegal, and so on, and some other more recent like Uganda or some others, or Gambia. So now we see it spreading a little bit all over. So Islamic finance, what it can do really is promoting ethical investments and financial inclusion. So in the African continent, which is the second largest continent with Muslim population, it is close to part of this population to the heart to have a financial services industry that is compliant with their ethical behavior and beliefs. So in this regard, we think it fills a gap in the financial inclusion, which will in turn promote economic development. The second aspect, which we think Islamic finance can really have a great contribution, is on financing small and medium enterprises, which is the core of the economic infrastructure and economy in general for many countries globally, and in particular for Africa, which is very good, of course, for employment and local economic development. Because what we have seen is that in most countries, Islamic banks, where they operate, for example, in our global Islamic banking survey, which we do on an annual basis, over 60% of Islamic banks and financial institutions in Africa say that their activities, over 60% of their activities in their markets relates to small and medium enterprises. So this is, I think, very good. In addition to some of the actions on related to social finance, for example, in promoting education and healthcare. So in this area, 70% of Islamic banks in their market, they promote in some ways the education and healthcare through some of the social financing activities. So we think with the global attention and importance now of sustainability and sustainable development, and with the convergence of these principles with ethical principles of Islamic finance, it is a great opportunity for both for the locals to have a development that is sustainable and that promotes welfare and equality, and it's an opportunity for Islamic banks to take leverage on this. Because of the principles of the Islamic finance, we see, and our research has shown it, that there is a very strong correlation between this and between sustainable development goals. So it's a clear opportunity for us. Adding to that Islamic finance is always financing related to tangible assets and real economic activity. This is what really Africa needs now.
Very elaborate. And looking at African countries, they are currently facing a number of gaps in terms of financing. What opportunities are you seeing, especially in infrastructure, the green economy as a bank, and Talk to me about the size of investment you're looking to make in Africa.
Yeah, I think it's an important question. If we see, as we said, historically, Islamic banks being globally started about 50 years ago in its current form. What we have seen on a global basis, from just for example, the year 2010, the global industry was $1 trillion US, and it has reached close to $4 trillion US. By now, it's exceeding $4 trillion US. That's four folds of what it was like 12 years or 13 years ago. In Africa, there is a clear opportunity. Currently, the industry, Islamic finance, stands at around $60 billion US of assets, which is in its large majority comprises, of course, banking, about 56, perhaps 57, plus sukuk, which is around 3 billion, sukuk in outstanding $3 billion US, and 2 billion US in funds, Islamic funds, plus some takaful, which is close to $1 billion US. So we are exceeding 62, 63 billion US in the African continent only. But the growth potential is also very great, because when the infrastructure financing, the gap to infrastructure financing is huge. According to like research and reports by the African Development Banks, it exceeds $100 billion US on an annual basis. So in this regard, we need to make sure that Islamic finance can have its right potential. Looking, for example, at green energy, and there is the other side which can have further investment in it is on green sukuk, for example. In this regard, even what I said, we have like on $60 billion US, majority of it is on banking. So on the sukuk element, it's about 3 billion, which is maybe like 5 or 6% of the total assets in Africa, which is very low. We should be at least around 10, 15 billion US of sukuk issuances in African markets to have some kind of balance between the capital markets and the sukuk issuances and the banking sector. So I think with the needs on sustainability and green energy, there are many opportunities, for example, on hydrogen, clean energy and financing. We can bring the industry, we can have some, and experiences exist, to be frank. So if we look at some countries, even in Egypt, there are some financing solutions on green energy. There are some others on green sukuk in different places in Southeast Asia. So I think in this regard, collaboration is very important, because we know, we see that different levels of development of Islamic finance across the African markets, African region, and we can promote what we call like the South-South cooperation. So even within the African continents, nobody knows the African continents better than the African continents itself. So countries from North Africa, Egypt, Sudan, and perhaps can leverage this Islamic finance knowledge and expertise with the other countries in sub-Saharan Africa, knowing that some of the sub-Saharan African countries like Nigeria, South Africa, they have started early on this. Others now, as we said, Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire, and Burkina Faso are starting, and they see an opportunity and they see demand. I mean, the market is ready for it. So some of the prerequisites we need to make sure we have the right infrastructure, and we need to make sure that we have a regulatory environment that is appropriate or conducive for the development of the industry. So, as I said, the imbalance between the banking and the capital markets, most of the time, because there is a lack of regulation, a lack of legal infrastructure, appropriate legal infrastructure, which will help. So, in a way, we need to have some Islamic finance infrastructure requirements to ensure that the market players can come on and perhaps contribute in this growth which we and growth and development which we all want and which is much needed in Africa now.